Are you interested in starting a career in IT, but you're not sure where to start, or if you're worried that nobody's hiring because you're hearing about all these layoffs? Well, I'm here to tell you there's still a lot of demand in IT. You just got to have the skills that are people looking for. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about career trends for 2025. So if you're interested, keep listening.
Do you want a career in cybersecurity? Are you unsure how to start? Curious what it means to be a cybersecurity professional? This is the Cyber Job Hacks Podcast with Dr. Jeff Colburn. He's a 30-year industry professional and the founder of Team Caveo, a company that specializes in helping people launch cyber careers. Join us on this podcast as we explore what it means to be a cybersecurity professional and how to get started. Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome to Cyber Job Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Colburn. Well, it's great to be back here in 2025. We're here starting our second season. Had a lot of fun with the first season. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I'm just really excited to be back. Again, sharing what I know about the industry. A lot going on. Here we are in February, and already we're starting to see some trends that carried over from last year, some new trends. You hear still a lot about the AI, the battle between InfiniBand and Ethernet for AI clusters. You got AI architects pushing InfiniBand, network engineers pushing Ethernet. A lot of people worried about layoffs. Hard to see in the large hyperscalers like Google and Meta just letting people go. Some people thinking, well, hey, there's no more jobs in IT, but you can't buy into that, right? Because these large companies, they're posturing to Wall Street. They're laying people off even when they're profitable. So believe me, there's still a demand for IT professionals. But like anything, you got to have the right skill set. If no matter what the profession, if you don't have the in-demand skill set, then yeah, it's going to be hard to find a job. But if you have what people are looking for, then you won't have a problem finding a job. And you want to take the time to cultivate those skills to make yourself more in demand. So in, this episode, I want to kind of talk about some of the demand you're going to see in 2025. Some of it's carrying over from last year. And, this year there's, there might be some new things that are popping up. So, like I said, AI networking, you got InfiniBand with NVIDIA, you got Ethernet, with companies like Arista, so you have, the battle for the front end, the AI cluster, right? A lot of companies are deploying Ethernet on the front end and then using InfiniBand on the back end. But even now, companies are exploring, hey, I'll just use Ethernet on the back end as well. Tests are showing that, Ethernet is performs as well, if not better than InfiniBand on the back end of the AI cluster. So you're going to start seeing more of that. You're going to see, kind of a shift away from InfiniBand and back more towards Ethernet. So, you're going to see, companies like Arista, that's going to be, kind of standing out as that leader in data center, especially AI data centers. And you got, you already companies move to 400 gig. Now they're shifting to 800 gig in those data centers. So one thing you probably want to keep your eye on is that Arista ACE certification, right? This is what's going to help you become familiar with Arista, as well as the technology around how to build out data center environments. So definitely 2025, that's an area that's going to continue to grow. But the other one, I talked about this last year, it's almost a given now that, people new to the industry or people that are trying to grow in the industry, automation, right? You're not going to get away from automation. I know there's still a lot of people out there using command line, But that's going away, and people are not looking for command line people. That's not what's going to make you stand out, because if you're especially if you're new, and you're trying to be a command line engineer, there's already guys with years of command line experience. So why not differentiate yourselves by skills that these command line warriors don't have, right? Start learning Python, start learning Ansible, right? Because you're going to start seeing companies, they're making that shift, right? They're going to dashboards, right? So they're going to start using dashboards to push out their configs, because they don't want each person going out individually to each device and dropping configs, right? They want a source of truth, and that dashboard is going to be that single source of truth, and then that's going to push out to the entire environment. But even that, there's errors, right? There's still human errors as you're clicking around. You might populate information in the wrong field. So you're going to start seeing this move continue towards a true CI pipeline, and people are going to start using things like Ansible or Arista AVD, right? That they're going to build these inventory files, which become that single source of truth, and they're going to use that to push it out either directly to the network switches or through the dashboard. So you could do a configuration change, and that change communicates to the dashboard, and the dashboard would push that out to all the individual devices. So that's referred to as the modern operating model, and that's what the direction the industry is moving towards. So if you want to be in this industry, I suggest you start learning that. And it's some really cool things being done with automation. You start seeing things like digital twins, where changes that you make in the CI pipeline, they're actually tested in a fully virtualized representation of the production environment, right? So it's tested, and it ensures there's no errors before that change is pushed out to the production environment. So, what a way to avoid those late night scrambles where your change goes wrong. You're trying to figure out what's wrong before you have to back off. Through this operating model, it's tested and verified before it's even pushed out into production. So you can go in assured that your change is going to work, and you're not worrying about this late night scramble to get something to work, or having to back off from a failed change, which, it really doesn't help your career. If you're having, it's hard enough to get a change window, but then to fail during your change, that's really not going to help you. So automation, that's where, like I said, start learning things like Ansible, Python. You really want to start learning that kind of things, and just how that whole CI pipeline works. IPv6, we talked about this last season, not going away. It's still coming, and if it's probably going to come stronger and stronger. Back in December, DoD sent out a new mandate saying IPv6 only, right? So civilian government has the IPv6 only mandate. Now DoD, right, that dual stack, right, having IPv4 and v6 in the core, they don't want it. They want v4 gone. But it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like, you can't just overnight go from v4 to v6. There's a migration. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't even know IPv6, never mind how to migrate to IPv6. So again, another area where you can really create some value for yourself is showing how you can get IPv6 and IPv4 to coexist, right? Because as you migrate your production environment, there's going to be pockets of v4 as you move things to v6. And the other thing is, you're going to have legacy applications that are not going to support v6. So they're going to have to remain v4 until they're retired, right? So what they call this is IPv6 mostly, meaning it's not IPv6 only, because during migration, you're still going to have v4, and then you're going to have old legacy applications that are going to remain v4, and they need to be able to communicate, right? You need to talk between your new v6 and your v4 environment, right? So technologies like DNS 6.4 and NAT 6.4, right, that communicates that, supports that communication between v4 and v6. You got to learn how to implement that, right? So there's a lot of people that barely know v6. They don't even know how DNS 6.4 and NAT 6.4 works. So again, this is going to be a critical skill going forward, and it's an opportunity to differentiate yourself. So when people are out there like, hey, there's no IT jobs, nobody's hiring, Well, guess what? They're going to be hiring people that can do IPv6 migrations. They're going to be hiring people who can automate and build out the CI pipeline, right? So again, know where the demand is. It's like anything else. You got to know what skills employers are looking for and develop those skills. If you don't want to develop those skills, then don't get in the industry. I'm telling you now. If you think you're just going to get your CCNA, right, and just know command line and not build on that, right? That's a great foundation skill to have. Don't get me wrong, because you still need to know what you're automating. So you need to know basic routing and switching if you're going to be a network engineer. Or even if you're going to secure networks, you need to know what you're securing. So you need to understand routing and switching, but you can't stop there, right? That's a foundation you build upon, right? It's a critical foundation. And the problem is today, there's a lot of people that are skipping that foundation, right? They go get AWS certified. They'll start trying to automate things, and they're breaking things because they don't understand basic routing and switching. So understand the technology and then build upon it. Learn how to automate, learn how to deploy and migrate to IPv6, right? Build on those skills, right? And the other thing, the other technology, the other thing that you're going to hear a lot about is zero trust, right? We talked about, again, this last season, not going away, bigger and bigger push for zero trust. And what's that mean? Technologies like identity, microsegmentation, least privilege, right? These are terms you're going to be hearing thrown around because remember, zero trust is not a technology. You just don't buy a zero trust platform, right? It's a methodology, how you design your network security. And that's what people need. They need somebody who can come in and develop a zero trust architecture and migrate from that perimeter security they currently have to a zero trust environment, right? So you start learning like from the leading vendors in the technologies around zero trust, like the Palo Altos, the Aristas, the Illumios, right? You need to start learning, what are these technologies that are used to actually provide that zero trust? So when you start developing, that zero trust methodology, right? Those pieces of the zero trust architecture, what technologies are available to provide that, right? So again, these are the things I'd be really looking at right now is, like I said, data center, right? You're looking at, companies that are going to be leading in the data center design, especially as AI starts, continues, the AI investment's still big, a lot of investment in that and a lot of build out for that. But even traditional data centers, right? That, people have a lot of legacy data center architectures. So start learning some of the leading data center vendors, their technology, how to design a modern data center, right? Moving away from that MLEG, VPC model to a more VXLAN, BGP, EVPN type technology, right? Those are the kind of things you want to start learning in that area. Then again, automation, huge, got to learn it. I can't emphasize that enough. That's big. I'm learning it. I was a longtime CLI person. I really resisted learning automation. I did not want to learn it, but now I'm learning it. I wish I started earlier because it makes my life that much easier. It's so much cleaner. It's so more efficient. So yeah, learn automation. Do yourself a favor. IPv6, it's coming. Can't keep everything on V4 anymore. NAT is going away. I can't do network address translation the rest of our lives. It's going away. There's too many devices, even for NAT environments. Everything's getting an IP address these days. There's more peer-to-peer, right? A lot of that client-server model is going away. So you need that IPv6. We can't be continue to use private addressing and try to hide within our enclaves, right? There's too much data flow between endpoints to continue that model. So V6 coming, learn how to migrate to it, learn how to implement it. And then again, zero trust. Perimeter, like I talked about last season, perimeter security is dead. You can't just build a moat around your environment, right? Because one thing, your environment's no longer in a single building. It's in the cloud. You got remote users, right? That they work from home, they're working from coffee shops. Where they're working from, you can't just lock everything behind your walls. So you need that zero trust, that least privilege. You need to know the identity of who's communicating on your network, right? So building out that zero trust environment. So that's where I see some major trends in 2025. As you think about getting in this industry, if you're starting a career or you're trying to grow your career in this industry, these are some areas I suggest you start looking at. This is the areas I would recommend to other people to focus on if they want to stand out in this industry, if they want to grow in this industry. I hope you found this useful. Again, I'm very happy to be back. All right, excited for 2025. Last year was a great year. I think this year is even going to be better. I look forward to talking to you more this year. So until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Cyber Job Hacks Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please share with a friend who may be interested in becoming a cyber professional. Also, please leave a review on Apple Podcast. Your feedback is greatly appreciated as it will shape our future episodes. Meet us here every Monday as we discuss the cyber job market and how to launch your career. Until next time, have a great week.